It's time for a new vacation home. In this project, we're going to be discussing how President Donald Trump is a little bored with Mar-a-Lago and is on the hunt for a new place to relax from all of his presidential duties. Brought to you by Kyle Gorman, Ben Otto, and Natalia Rios Cruz. So what city will be just fantastic? Funny you should ask. We're going to be talking about the housing prices in San Francisco, Atlanta, and New York, New York. Who knows, the Donald may want to add a bit of flair to the skyline of the city that he chooses. One big factor to look out for are the bad hombres, also known as realtors. Realtors will always tend to skew the data for their purposes because they typically won't get paid if they don't sell the house. They operate on biases based on the region they work in, and their information is usually unreliable at best when it comes to determining the true value of a house in a particular city. Just ask Donald. All they give you is fake news. Instead, we look at the Case Shiller Index for houses across the United States. This data comes from a national index that gives information by calculating a 3-month moving average across the U.S. and can be used to identify specific cities as well. The baseline model starts in the year 2000 at the value price of 100, and all fluctuations derive from this point. If a housing market dips to 80%, then that means your housing value has decreased by 20%. Likewise, if a housing market skyrockets up to 150, that means your value has increased by 50%. The Case Shiller home price indices are the leading measure of U.S. residential real estate prices. Being underwater is a huge deal, but let's talk about what that means first. When someone is underwater, that means they owe more money on their house than what it is currently worth. This became a huge problem in 2008 when the housing market collapsed and led to the foreclosure of a lot of properties. On the opposite end of the spectrum is when the housing value is driven up so high that it sparks bidding wars for people who want to move to particular areas. This was evidenced in the early 2010s with the tech industry boom in Silicon Valley, which sparked bidding wars, forcing people to pay much more than what the value of the house was actually worth. Be careful, Mr. President. Thanks to the aforementioned Case Shiller Index, we are able to see trends and patterns arise across the nation, even in places with a very different atmosphere in daily life. New York, Atlanta, and San Francisco all experienced a large decrease in average housing prices in 2008 due to the housing collapse. You can also see that while the average house prices vary considerably, they all follow the same baseline, which will help people to decide when and where they should move. So, what'll it be for our Commander-in-Chief? Well, with San Francisco being too far away to fly every weekend while in office, and Berkeley being right across the bay, Donald Trump thinks that San Francisco is too unfair and says no. New York, New York is already the Donald's home, and he already has a really big building there. He doesn't need to build another one, or else people might start to think that he's compensating. Plus, New York didn't vote for him, which is sad. Very, very sad. That leaves him with Atlanta. It has everything he wants in a city, plus the housing prices that are the lowest of the three, so he could easily buy several hundred if he really wanted to. Donald Trump gives Atlanta a very big, small thumbs up. Way to go, Mr. President. This has been a production of Liberty Velociraptors Incorporated. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.